Robes in the closet. Every Sunday afternoon in April, I spent at Miss Terry's house. The first week when I arrived, there was a young woman in the dining room balancing a toddler on her lap as she tried to type a letter. The child was fussy. "I'll take her," I said. "Thank you." The woman stood up and handed her daughter to me. "I'm Miss Knowlton. Her name's Jackie." "Hi, Jackie," I said. "I'm Marley." The child screamed. "I'll take her back," sighed Miss Knowlton. "No, let me try something." I scooped up Jackie under her arms and spun her around in a circle, just like my father used to do with me. Jackie was so surprised she stopped crying. I stopped spinning. "More, more," she cried. I started spinning again. Jackie laughed. "Hey, Miss Winthrop," called Miss Knowlton. Miss Winthrop poked her head in the room. "Got any more volunteers like her?" she said, pointing at me. "'Cause if you do, we'll have these schools open by next week." Jackie and I kept spinning and spinning until we fell down, laughing in a heap. The room spun, but the compliment remained. Since I was the youngest, I'd always wanted a baby sister or brother. I cradled Jackie, and she put her head on my shoulder as I walked around the parlor. When she was finally asleep, I put her down on the couch and went back to the dining room. "You got her to take a nap?" her mother asked. I nodded. I sang to her. "What?" "The times tables," I said. Miss Knowlton laughed. I watched Jackie every week after that, and once she was asleep, I'd sit down with the others at the huge dark oak table in the dining room to help with paperwork. Miss Brewer was usually there, talking on the phone, and Miss Terry, of course, and Miss Winthrop and Jackie's mother, and Miss Dalton, silently putting flyers into envelopes. I looked at the flyer. It had a picture of a child with a suitcase in one hand, and said, "Will this be your child next fall? Over 1,000 children have had to leave Little Rock to go to school this year. There is no substitute for public schools." "My brother was telling me about the Act 10 thing," I said as I started folding. "Is the WEC going to do anything about it?" "I believe," said Miss Brewer, "that Mr. Shelton, he's a color teacher at Horace Mann, is working on filing a suit with the National Association Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. "Yes," said Miss Winthrop, "and Vice Principal Powell from Central is going to join him. Until the suit is filed and the courts rule on it, public employees will have to sign or not sign as they see fit." Miss Terry walked into the room then and placed a large pile of mail addressed to the WEC in front of me. "Marley, would you mind opening these?" "Sure," I said. "Thank you. Just put them in a pile and let me know if there's anything you think needs my immediate attention." I nodded and pulled my silver letter opener out of my purse. Miss Winthrop hummed softly as we all worked. The first few letters I opened were just routine correspondence, bills, membership applications, stuff like that. But the next three... "Some of these aren't very nice," I said. "What do you mean?" Miss Terry asked. "If you go out today, you will be hit by a car and killed," I read. Miss Terry plucked that letter from my hand. There's also, "Say goodbye to your loved ones," and "I thought you were a good Christian woman. I'm ashamed of you." Miss Terry took both of those, too. "I'm sorry, Marley. The threats go in a separate pile. I'm afraid this is not an appropriate task for you. Perhaps you could go back to stuffing envelopes." Miss Winthrop took over the mail opening duties, and we all went back to work, but no one hummed anymore. I wanted to think I was mature and grown up, but I couldn't help asking, "All those letters, aren't you scared?" "Of course we're scared," said Miss Terry, "but you can't let that stop you." "It's like the phone calls," said Mrs. Brewer. "The first one is awful, but by the 100th, well, you hope those people are all just talk." "What is it your husband does again when he gets the calls?" asked Miss Winthrop. "Oh, sometimes he reads poetry, or starts talking to them in French, or singing in an aria from an opera. Mr. Brewer has quite a good voice." We kept working in silence for a while. "Another one for your file," said Miss Winthrop. I glanced at the letter before anyone could stop me. "You and all the others who think like you should be tied to a car and dragged down 9th Street, as did happen once before." "What's it talking about?" I asked. Miss Terry sighed. "The lynching. The last one in Little Rock was in 1927. "What happened?" I asked. "No, she's too young to know." "She's helping us. I say that makes her old enough." Miss Terry sighed. A colored man, John Carter was his name, was taken by a mob of people. No one did anything, not the police or anyone watching. Nobody even tried to save him. They hung him and shot him and dragged his body down the street and then burned him. It happened at the edge of the Negro District on 9th and Broadway. This house is only 8 blocks away. From my front porch, I could see the glow of the fire and hear people screaming. We were all silent then. I heard the ripping of paper as Miss Winthrop opened the envelopes, the squeeze of a sponge as Jackie's mother wet a stamp. Someone cleared her throat, and I looked over to see it was Miss Dalton. She hadn't said a word the whole time. "I'm here, helping," she whispered, because once I found white robes in my husband's closet. I was too ashamed to ask him what they were. I guess I knew, and I was too scared to throw them away. But when the schools were closed, I realized I had to do something. "If your husband is part of the Klan," Miss Winthrop said, "aren't you worried he'll find out you're helping us?" Yes, I was. Miss Dalton shook her head. "But according to him, this is just a ladies' group. Harmless. We won't accomplish anything." The baby woke up then, and I was glad to get up and give her a bottle. I even started whispering the timetables again. I might have claimed it was to soothe her, but really it was so I didn't have to think about lynchings and death threats and robes in the closet. So just a reminder here, Miss Dalton, that is Red and JT's mom and Mr. Dalton's wife. So, based on that, we now know that Mr. Dalton and most likely Red, based on my reader's inference, is a part of the Ku Klux Klan. We also know that the threatening phone calls are continuing. They are letters. And Miss Winthrop says something like, "Of course I'm scared, but that's not going to stop me." Have you guys ever been scared of something? Did you let the fear stop you? Something to think about.